Big Beaks Podcast.
On this episode of Big Beaks, I talk about dark humor in law enforcement. It could be dark humor in hospitals. It could be dark humor in being a firefighter. Dark humor is something that you do when shit gets wild in your occupation, but then you still find it, you could find humor out of it. And not that many people will understand that humor unless you're in that occupation. Listen to the episode. What's up, man? It's Chris from Big Beaks Social Club. I said I was going to record every day in the month of October, and I'm recording. What's up? Today I want to talk about dark humor. Humor that only certain people can understand, depending on the occupation, depending on the experience, depending on the event that happened. And the rest of the world or anyone else would be like, no, I don't get this humor. So certain humor is selected for the audience. Like if you've never been into a wild fist fight or somewhere where you had to do something that normal humans would not do, but the group, I could go with law enforcement. I can go with even working at a hospital. There's got to be dark humor in a setting where it's an environment where mental health things happen. People either die. People people at hospitals are either out of their mind, and there's a dark humor in these environments. Me personally, I worked in a correctional facility setting, a prison, and to get by such a shitty fucking dark occupation that has no cheerleading, no reward, you would have to understand what dark humor is. There would be scenarios where one day it's a good day, the next day you're fighting someone butt ass naked on fucking drugs. And if actual normal human beings, you tell them the story, they'll be like, what? And I'm like, no, it was fucking wild. I mean, have you ever fucking wrestled someone on K2 or wrestled someone on some fucking substance that makes them go buck fucking wild? And you tell someone like, ooh, how could you find this funny? I mean, because it's a dark environment and that's the only way you get by. And I would tell people all the time some of my stories and they'll laugh, but they'll be like, I just don't fucking get it. But then you would tell it to the people that know the occupation, know the job experience, and they can understand the humor. Dark humor is it's a weird thing. I think you use dark humor just to get by. You get by wicked times. You get by certain situations, certain things you live through. Without humor, you're just in a fucking shitty environment. You're just in a fucking place where, what would I consider dark humor? Dark humor would be, I mean, you don't really want to go in my mind. There's dark times, dark humor that the normal human being would be like, yeah, that's not funny. But being that it's such a stressful event that the only way to continue is to make humor of it. You get someone, I'll give you an example. I mean, if you work prison, you get some kid that's fucking claiming he's a tough guy and he's weeks of being an asshole, and some other fucking convict finally checks him and cracks his fucking head. You could make dark humor of it. I mean, you didn't actually physically have to do the violence, and there shouldn't be humor in the violence. But if you witness the ass whipping, you're like, this shit's fucking funny. And you tell it to normal people. What do you mean the dude's head busted open? It was gushing, and you found it funny, and whoever you're telling the story with that was actually there too finds it funny also. But if you have a third party listening and he's not from that fucking chaos environment, he's not going to find it funny. He's going to think you're sick. He's going to think, how could you guys find this violence fucking hilarious? But it's what you do to get by such a bad traumatic event. And a lot of people don't talk about dark humor unless you're like I always say, unless you're part of that fucking environment. And so I created characters, cartoons to go through those emotions, go through some of those stories.
Big Beak Social Club.